Now I'm going to see if this damn thing works, because I'm having trouble with it, and I want to try to tell you my life story. My name is Gilbert Delawder, and I was born January the 22nd, 1923. And this is the story of my life, the best I know. I was born in Corryville, Ohio, a village outside of Arlington, Ohio. Arlington was a very small town with a population of 23,000. And where I lived, the houses were far and few between. I was born in a log cabin deep in the holler between two mountains. We had about 1.5 acres of ground that we grew different vegetables on, and we had two farms, one on each side of us, and a chicken farmer below us. One farmer grew horses, cows, and hogs, and chickens, and turkeys. And on the other side of us, the other farmer just raised cattle. My father also raised a couple of hogs for the winter. And when we butchered the hogs in early winter, we would cut them in different parts and put them in a outside shed so we had meat for the winter. We didn't have a freezer or an ice-box, so that's how we kept the meat fresh. If we wanted chicken, we would go out and kill a couple of the farmer's chickens, as he let them run loose anyway. And if we wanted milk, I would go out and milk one of the farmer's cows, as he let them graze on the hillside too. And my stepmother would can a lot of different things too. So you could tell we had plenty to eat, but not too many clothes. As we grew up in the Depression years, and we had to wear dungarees to school, and we thought we were so poor. But now it's the style. As a boy, I did odd jobs for farmers. In my spare time, we would go hunting. My friend was a real nut for going hunting, and was always after me to go with him. So one night, he wanted me to go fox hunting with him. And I said, "No, Jake, I won't go hunting, but I'll go chasing women with you." Only kidding. Only as there weren't too many women to chase. Plus, we didn't have any money to take girls out anyway. We only got a nickel a week allowance from my father, plus 50 cents a day from helping out the farmers, as it was in the Depression years, and not much work around them parts. We used to get our kicks out of watching where the moonshiners hid their gallons of moonshine, and at night we would go and pour a little out of each jug and piss in it, as we thought that way it would give it a little flavor. We had a fellow that was always drunk that lived a little piece from us, and every night he would come out the old country road. We would follow him to see if he could climb the hill up to his house, as he was always drunk. He would get up to his front yard and pass out, as he couldn't make it in the house. So our friend and me would wait about a half hour and go up and roll him down the hill. He would land in the gutter. And the following morning we would go to check on him, as we thought he may be dead, but he wouldn't be there. So we knew he was okay. And the following night he would do the same damn thing. So we got tired of rolling him down the hill. So we would search his pockets, and he would have some moonshine left in his bottle, and we would fill it up for him with our morning piss. And another trick we used to play on a guy, his name was Henry Griffin, but we called him Fat Belly. We would throw small rocks on his metal roof, and he would get his horsewhip and come after us. So we would tease him by running back and forth in front of him, and he would try to hit us without much success. But one night he got me good, and I had whelps on my legs and ass for a week, I guess. So finally we left him alone and started picking on a fellow by the name of Shotgun Wilson. Someone had shot him on the cheek with a shotgun, on one little hole wouldn't close all the way up, and he chewed tobacco, and the juice was always coming out. So he was always trying out different sizes of corks on the hole, and he would get mad at us, so we finally left him alone too. I had a friend by the name of Bob Atkinson, who I used to loaf with too. His father owned a couple of trucks that he delivered coal and ice. So Bob had a Model A Ford, and every Sunday we would go over to Ashland, Kentucky to collect for the week's coal and ice. As it was an all-colored section, I think his old man was a little afraid to go collect his money. So Bob always asked me to go with him, and the shacks always left their front and back doors open. So we would just go right in and ask for the money. And so many of them wouldn't pay. We went in one house, and a big old colored fellow was lying in his bunk. And he said, "What you doing here, white boys?" And Bob says to him, "I come to get the money that you owe my father." And the old fellow says, "I don't have no money, white boy." So Bob got mad and just picked the bunk with him in it and turned it upside over or down. And the old fellow says, I still don't have any money. And one Sunday, we were in Kentucky when an old lady had 5 or 6 gallons of moonshine in a burlap bag. So she thumbed us down for a ride. So Bob says, sure, but you'll have to ride in the rumble seat. So the old lady climbed in, and Bob slammed the door, and the old lady was screaming and kicking and hollering as she couldn't breathe. So finally I got Bob to stop the car and let her out. Bootlegging was illegal, but a lot of the older fellas had the stills. Older fellas had the stills, and then we would always find them and watch how they made it. They would always make corn liquor and put it in gallon jugs, and they always knew who to sell it to. They would come around about midnight and take it into the city and sell it to their regular customers. Ever so often the federal marshals would come and destroy their distills. Some of the farmers would turn them in as it was killing some of their cows from eating too much of the corn. That's what they were making it from. That's why they call it corn liquor. The cows would eat so much corn that they would just swell up and burst open. So the county sheriff would go with the federal marshals, and they would start shooting at the moonshiners, not to kill them, but just to scare them away, so they could go and chop up their distills. So every time we saw a car pull up the holler, and about 4 men get out with their rifles, we knew what was going to happen. So we would follow a distance behind them and watch the fireworks. A car could only go up as far as our house. That's why we knew when things were happening. My brother, Martin, and another fellow, and myself, was once watching the distillers when the federal marshals started their raid. Who was given a hard time. It's just lucky that the county sheriff knew our fathers, and they let us go before the shooting started. And the way I learned to swim, some older fellow threw me in the creek, which was about a half a mile wide, that flowed into the Ohio River. So it was either sink or swim. But at a little later date, I got even with him. He was swimming in the same creek, so I found his clothes and threw them away. I don't know how he got home, as we always went swimming in the nude. Didn't know what a bathing suit was. I could tell you many more stories, but it would take a long time to run. So at the age of 17, I left home and joined the Civilian Conservation Corps. That was a program that started in the Depression years to give young fellas a job. We only got $1 a day, but good eats and nice clean clothes. I spent 6 months in the 3 C's in LaPointe, Oregon. That was all timberland. We were cutting down trees to build a dam, and after 6 months I went back home. Still no work, so I signed up for 6 more months and went to Pocatello, Idaho. There they had sheep herds and cattle, and they grew so many potatoes, I don't know what the hell they did with all of them. I saw some mighty pretty scenery while I was out west. I saw the Grand Canyon of Colorado and the salt beds in Utah. I was in 35 states altogether, but was too young to enjoy them. After 6 months there, I come back home and still no work. Plus the Second World War was just starting. So I got pissed off and joined the Navy. I was in the Navy for 3.5 years. I loved the Navy and would have made a career out of it. But I met a pretty girl by the name of Agnes Eric, who lived in New York. As I was stationed at Air Base nearby, and on January the 28th we got married, and altogether we had 8 children. Their names are James, John, Glenn, Tom, Phil, and the 3 girls' names are Jeanette, Kathy, and Mary. James has 3 boys. Their names are Anthony, Dennis, and Matthew. Jim now lives upstate in Brewster. John has 1 son and 2 girls. Their names are Sean, and the girls' names are Daniela and Nicole. John also lives upstate in Stormville. Kathy has 4 little ones, and their names are Lisa, Lenny, Francine, and Stephen. My other children aren't married. I worked for 45 years and retired, as that's long enough. I enjoyed my adventures as a boy and was always glad to have a job. My pretty wife and me worked very hard to bring up 8 children, but we didn't mind. My father's name was Mark Delawder, and he married Edna Brown, and she had 2 boys, my oldest brother Martin and myself. And she passed away when I was about 4 years old, so I didn't really get to know her. She had 1 brother by the name of Willard Brown, and his wife's name was Mary. And Uncle Willard and Aunt Mary had 1 son and 3 daughters. Son's name was Leland, girls' names were Louise, Nellie, and Doris. My mother's sister's name was Effie Boggs, and she had 3 girls. Their names were Helen, Benicia, and Mildred. I didn't know my grandmother on my mother's side too well. All I know, I was sitting by her bedside, holding her hands when she died. Now on my father's side, that's a long story. His father's name was Archibald, and his wife's name was Lucinda Aldrich. I knew my grandmother well on my father's side, but not my grandfather. They had 17 children altogether. I only knew 2 of my uncles, Uncle Elmer and Uncle Noah, and 2 of my aunts, Aunt Myrtle and Aunt Gertrude. I think a lot of their children died as babies. I also have brothers and sisters by my second mother, or my step. My father started courting her shortly after my real mother died, and her name was Georgia Thompson, and she lived in Gallipolis, Ohio. So soon after that, they got married, and they had 5 children. Their names were Milton. He lives in East Liverpool, Ohio. And one lives in Beaver, Pennsylvania. His name is Charles. And Dale lives in Patriot, Ohio. A sister, Lana Lee, lives in South Point, Ohio. And a sister, Georgiana, who lives in Secaucus, New Jersey. So you can see we were strung all over like shit. I guess you can tell by my rebel voice that I am not from New York. I'm really a hick from the sticks. We had no running water going into our house. We had a well to draw our own water for cooking and drinking. And we also had an outside toilet about a half a block from the house. So in the winter time, when it was bitter cold or snowing, I would raise the window and just piss out the window. And the way we took our bath in the summer, we never took none in the winter. We had a large wash tub that we would sit in the front yard, fill it with water, and when it got warm, we would stand up and take our bath. We had 2 families that lived up the holler from us, and there were 4 girls. That one of them would come up or down the holler while we were taking our bath, and we would give them a little show. They would put their head up in the air and turn away from us. I don't know why they did that. We wasn't mean boys, dishonest as hell. In the Navy, I was one of 7 crew members on the big Navy planes, the PBY. I was a machine gunner, and out of a squadron of 21 planes, we sank 9 submarines off of the East Coast within a 500-mile limit. That's as long as we could stay up until we ran out of fuel, 16 hours. I could tell you many more stories about myself, but I better leave well enough alone. This is a true story as I know it. Thanks. Now I'm going to sing you a couple pretty songs. Like a bird that's lost its maiden flight, I'm alone and also blue tonight. Like a piece of driftwood on the sea, may you never be alone like me. I believe the lies you told to me. When you whispered, dear, I worship thee. Now here am I, alone and blue, all because I love no one but you. I gave up my friends, I left my home, when you promised to be mine alone. Now you're gone, our love could never be. May you never be alone like me. In the Bible, God's own words to say, forever on someday you'll pay. I pray the Lord to set me free. May you never be alone like me. You placed gold on my finger. You brought love like I've never known. You gave life to our children, and to me a reason to go on. You're my friend when I'm hungry. You're my shelter from troubled winds. You're my anchor in life's ocean. But most of all, you're my best friend. When I need hope and inspiration, you're always strong when I'm tired and weak. I could search this whole world over, you'll still be everything that I need. You're my friend when I'm hungry. You're my shelter from troubled winds. You're my anchor in life's ocean. But most of all, you're my best friend. When I need hope and inspiration, you're always strong when I'm tired and weak. I could search this whole world over, but you'd still be everything that I need. I'll hold you in my heart till I can hold you in my arms. like you've never been held before. I'll think of you each day, and I'll dream the night away till you're in my arms once more. The stars up in the sky know the reason why I feel so blue when I'm away from you. I'll hold you in my heart till I can hold you in my arms. So darling, please wait for me. The stars